Hello and welcome. Welcome to this episode on grief. Wow, so I don't know when you're listening to this or what life's looking like for you right now, but the prompt for me doing this episode on grief was because it is 9 years since we lost my dad. 9 years this week, on the 12th actually. It was really strange. Bit of background. So mum and dad were coming to visit us at our new home, and we just had our eldest. At the time he was 2.5, and basically, long story short, out of the blue, he never woke up the next day. And even talking about that, so emotional, even 9 years on. But I'm a cremation jeweller, as a lot of you know, and you know, I do feel like I get grief because until you know, you don't know. You know what I mean? If it's someone close, if it's, we always lose grandparents and stuff, and it depends how close you were to them and that kind of thing. But that was my biggest loss, and I still find it surreal now. Our second child, we fell pregnant with him 3 months after. In fact, the night Dad died, to have the conversation about having a second, which is why he's named after my dad. But even now it catches you, and I just wanted to have a talk. The whole point, I don't know who's listened to previous episodes, the whole point is not because I'm a guru in anything. I just talk open and honestly, and sometimes you haven't got friends to do that, have you? And I don't know what your circle looks like and where you are, and it doesn't matter. But the whole point of me coming on is to be that friend in the phone. So if you're watching me right now, you'll see I'm wearing a hat, which tends to be standard. Not gonna lie, it's because I haven't really done my hair today. And it's bloody cold. It's sunny, but bloody cold, but lighter evenings. So that's positive. So being a cremation jeweller, it sounds like a really doom and gloom thing to do, but it's really not. I'm an artist, I'm a designer, I'm not everyone's cup of tea, and maybe I'm not yours. Maybe you follow me because you like the podcasts or you like my vibe. But I was going to talk about, I was looking it up. Do you know, it's so ridiculous, isn't it? But I put a couple of notes here because I was looking up the 5 stages of grief. 5 stages of grief, how ridiculous. I do get some of it. I don't think it applies to everyone though, and I don't think it's necessary in this order. But I'm going to think about how it relates to me, and I'm going to try and just talk as honestly as I can. Not really with a direction, but just, it's a good conversation, isn't it? Grief. It's shit. It's really shit. Really shit losing someone that you care about, isn't it? Changes your entire world. Gosh, I'm emotional now. Shouldn't have videoed this. And it really does, because I look back and think we've got the children, we've moved to Cornwall, and people say they look down and they can see, and I don't know how true that is, and I don't want to disrespect anyone's religion. I believe that there's obviously something else out there. And whether it's a God or not, I can't answer that. And it's irrelevant, it doesn't matter. If I always think with religion and belief, whatever helps you, do that. Whatever helps you. I don't judge anyone based on their religion because it's none of my bloody business. And if it's good for that person, and I wouldn't expect anyone to judge me on my beliefs, but they will. So they say the first stage is denial, and how I can relate to this is the next day, I remember it was really surreal, really, and I don't really want to, I always say this, don't want to sound woo-woo, but basically the night he died, I dreamt it. So when my mum burst into the room, I already knew what she was going to say, and it really creeped me out. But that's another story, isn't it? And I remember being shocked. My husband did all this, the CPR, you have to go through it, the ambulance. I felt like he was doing it for days, but it wasn't. It was probably like 15 minutes. And I remember being in denial. Like, I thought, I know this sounds really weird, I'm sorry if anyone finds this offensive. I thought like he was a bit of a joker, so I almost felt like he was going to go, got ya, that type of thing. I found it really surreal. My dad laying there, and I don't know if you've ever seen anyone dead, potentially, that's died, passed on, but they almost, my dad, wasn't a small guy, but I don't know what happens when they leave, but he just seemed like gosh, it's emotional, isn't it? When I looked at him, he almost looked like a little boy, sorry. Almost like a little boy, like you see them as a child again, and I don't know if that's a thing. I don't know, but I went through denial for quite a bit, but I also remember feeling angry at the time as well, like really angry because we had plans the next day and he weren't going to be there. And they had plans later on the year. They just bought a camper van, as people do when they go into their 50s. What is that? Is that a British thing? I don't know. And they had plans, so I felt angry. Like, we had plans, and I felt angry with him. So that kind of was a mix in that first day. It was really bizarre. We had, family were all at our house. I've never drunk so much tea in my life. I don't even drink sugar in tea, but I was then. And it's just that whole, it's a mind fuck, isn't it? Like, you're just thinking, am I watching this? Like, is this real? Is this really happened to me, or am I watching a film? Really, really crazy. And then they say, so that it goes sort of denial, anger, and then they say you go for bargaining, almost like, it might be like, take me instead. I'll go instead. Like if somebody's lost a child or something, you might say, because it messes with your brain, doesn't it? Take me instead. Or if I'm a really good person forever and ever and ever, will you bring them back? Or can I just have 5 minutes with them to make a call? I'll tell you what, that messed with my head as well. Because every morning, my dad used to message me like the bloody weatherman to say good morning. And it was always just before I woke up. He was always up early. Tell me what the weather's doing, because I don't think he knew I had a window. And tell me to have a good day and love me. Love you, that type of thing. And I'd reply back saying, thanks for the update, Dad. Yeah, you too. Love you too. Have a good one. That kind of thing. And that messed with my head. It messed with my head for months afterwards. Because I'd look at my phone every morning and it wasn't there. So I know that's not to do with bargaining and going off on a tangent. You know what it's like. But yeah, it's crazy. And then you accept almost that you can't bargain to have them back or to speak to them. So you can almost end up going in some sort of depressive state. What I would say is cry. Like, you see me crying now. I'll talk about that in the next step, actually. But that sort of depressing stage when you start to feel low, like you suddenly dawns on you that you can't change what's happened. Like as if you've been in denial of that, and then you're like, I can't change it. I can't change it. And eventually, the hardest part, and it might take months, years, I don't know, everybody's different, and there isn't a timescale. That's the other thing as well. I'm like, right, tick, I should be feeling better now, but it's not, there's no timescale. The hardest part is acceptance. Coming to terms with the fact, your emotions settle a bit more, and coming to terms with the fact you can't change it. It happened for a reason, maybe, but you can't change it. And that really is the hardest thing. And you can swing from these different ones. You might go from feeling low to denial to anger and going round and round and round. And like I said, it's not the same for everyone. And meanwhile, your life's still going on. Meanwhile, you still might be working. You still got to get the kids. You're trying to keep things normal at home. Your friends message you at the beginning to say, oh, thinking of you, and then they fucked off and you don't ever hear from them. And these stages, because it's often the friends that haven't been through grief. The ones that have been through grief, you watch, they'll be your rocks. People will come out the woodwork that, not even out the woodwork, but they just come out that you never even thought you were that close to, and you'll develop new friendships and lose friendships. I'll tell you about one, and I don't think she'll ever listen to this podcast, and I'm not using names. and I don't wish anything bad on this person. But there was one of the mum, when I had my first, she had her first, and I think he was 3 months older than ours, and we used to hang around with like a little trio. It was another friend, really nice friend. She had our little boy when we went to Dad's funeral, because I don't know, I just didn't feel like I wanted him to go there. Anyway, and the one that didn't have him, got another friend that hung around with this trio, and the three boys got on really well. She sent me a message at the beginning, and I never heard from her again. And it comes about a year later, and I took her off my social media and stuff. And looking back, it may be that she didn't know how to handle it. Or maybe, I don't know. People don't know, do they? If they haven't experienced it, they don't always know how to be. And you kind of just have to let them while you're letting you do your thing. But anyway, 2 years later, 18 months later, I heard through the grapevine that her dad died. And so you know what I did? I messaged her and I said, because I know how shit it is, and I didn't need to say told you so, I didn't need to say thanks for being a shit friend. I messaged her and said, I've heard what's happened, everything, it's really crap, really feel for you, thinking of you, and what you do. Because, well, I want to say because I'm a better person, but that sounds really like, do you know what I mean? I want to be the bigger person, and it is shit. And I don't know the reason, I don't know what goes through people's heads. Nobody knows what goes through people's heads. We can build it all up in our own head, thinking they think this, or they must think that, or they did this. But really, you don't really know what's going on in other people's lives, really. We only see what we see online or when we see them. I was just thinking of like my notes down here. I was trying to write, it's a really difficult subject, and I have people speak to me now, and I deal with stuff sometimes through inappropriate humour. Probably got that from my dad as well. And it's crazy, isn't it? It really, really is crazy. And you'll go round and round and all those different things. The one that got me as well was you'd hear a song or smell a smell, or I don't know, and something, it would get you. And the pain of grief is like a physical pain, isn't it? It's almost like a pain in your chest, if you know what I mean. If you know, like heartbreak, your first heartbreak or something like that, but worse. And it feels like a physical pain inside you, and everybody takes it differently, don't they? And as much as we can try to understand how people feel, like I can't understand what it would be like to have a little baby, give birth to a little baby, and the baby die. And I speak to a lot of women that have had that, and it's just, and that's got to be the worst, isn't it? That's got to be the worst, surely. Or losing a child. I've spoken to a lot of people that have lost children, grown-up children, and it's just absolutely crazy. You think, what's it all about? And as cheesy as it sounds, we go, oh, such and such happened, you've got one life, you've got to live it, that's how short life is, and it is. Life is so short. You think about it, like even when you have your kids for a tiny amount of time. Most of the time that your children is when they're adults, and life really does zoom. Like, I'm going to be turning 40 this year. I was kicked out of home at 17, not for any particular reason. My mum didn't really like me, but we're all right now. And that time, it's just whizzed by. I would say with grief, and obviously my recent health stuff with the blood cancer stuff, after losing Dad, slowly but surely, it did make me a nicer person. I think it made me kinder, maybe to myself, kinder to others. It's a very, very strange concept, really. It's just so strange the way it changes. I remember in our old house, after my dad died, there used to be a robin And I don't know how true anything is, and I don't know, it brought comfort to me, and it used to come every single day. This robin, all through the months. I don't know why, it just seemed like it was always there all the time. I remember after he died as well, the clock's changing, because clocks change soon, don't they? At time of recording this, it's March. And I remember we had a kitchen, very basic clock, like a retro clock. And I remember the clock changed. Like the clock changed by the hour that it was supposed to be changed, and neither myself or my husband changed it. It was too high up for our 2.5-year-old at the time. And it wasn't like a fancy pants clock. We were so confused. Weird things used to happen. And it's like you can feel them around you. I don't know if anyone else has ever had that. And they say, don't they, like the unrested soul. Again, I don't want to go into going off into stuff like that. But yeah, they say that they're like still around because they're almost confused, angry themselves, and they're still around. But it's just, I just found it really comforting, the robin thing. Everyone says, one day at a time, and I say it to people too, and it really is. I know it sounds cliche, and if you're going through it right now, the best thing you can do is look after yourself. Feel your emotions. If you're like me and you like to busy yourself, and that's fine, have your good cry later. Don't apologise for being upset, or, if you find yourself caught off guard and having some tears and everything, don't apologise. I can remember a week after Dad, I thought, I've got to get this toddler out. So I took him to a really small soft play, and I met a friend there actually. I didn't arrange to meet her, I met somebody there that became a friend. But I can remember it was really empty, and it was like an Ed Sheeran song on, is it Photograph? And I don't know what, it just got me, and I burst into tears, like full on, you're trying to hide your face. And I think I just needed that, because I sort of hid myself away. Because you don't know how to be, that's the other thing as well, and you don't know if, am I going to laugh again? Am I allowed to laugh again? Will people think, oh, she's got over that quick? Am I allowed to be online? Am I allowed to enjoy things? Am I allowed? Of course you're bloody allowed. The people that are judging you for the way you're being probably don't even understand grief themselves. I mean, none of us do, but probably don't, have never experienced proper grief themselves, because if they had experienced it, they wouldn't even be thinking twice. So you're just worried about it. And I get it. And I used to be angry. I'd look out the window and see people just getting on with their life, thinking, I was talking to a friend the other day that's lost her mum actually, and we were having this conversation. You always feel like, why are they getting on with their life? Do you not know that my dad's just died? And you're just acting normal. They don't know me and I don't know them, And they might have lost someone before. And you're like, what? How dare they? They're just getting on with their life like my dad hasn't just died. And it really, really would wind me up. Or people just laughing, or people just getting on with their lives, doing normal things. But there's two things for certain, isn't there? You're born and you die. My dad used to say, you come into this life with nothing and you leave with nothing. And whenever I go to a funeral or tune into a funeral, and this is partly why I'm doing this podcast, because, I say that you're friend in the phone, I don't get paid for it. I'm not doing it for you so you can say, oh, look at her, she's so amazing. Who gives a shit? I'm in a hat in a messy office. I don't give a fuck. It's because I want to do something. Like, obviously I do my cremation during, that's my creative side, and I know that I really do help people with that, and I absolutely love that. I'm very lucky to do a job I love. But also, everybody's got value, everybody's gone through experiences, everybody deserves to talk. I used to get in trouble for talking at school, but actually it's one of my strong points really now, that I can just talk. I will just be open and honest in my messy, maybe annoying self, and I want to, sounds really emotional, because listening to so many people, is it memoir they call it? When they talk about what people have achieved with their life, and if I could stand at my funeral and say, that bitch you know, she was my friend in the phone. You know, she had shit to say. Like, she made sense. She like was that friend that told me to put my good big girl pants on. You know, pull yourself together, or reminded me that I could get through shit. You can do hard things. We can all do hard things. And if you're in the grief right now, just be in grief is fine. It's absolutely fine. You do you. I know it sounds so cheesy, but you do you. And you remember, life is so bloody precious. It really is. And you hear this cheesy line all the time. But maybe when you're ready and you've gone through your 5 stages, or gone back through them 5 times, 7 times, or, you know, flitted in between. And when you're in that place, maybe you can share your experience. Maybe you can help someone else. Maybe you could go and start or do something you've always been scared to do. Because surely when you get stuck in grief, you look at that person, you think of that person you lost, thinking, life really is too short. It really, really is. Like, yeah, absolutely mind-blowing. The things you can do, the things you're too scared to do, or your fear of being judged. Who gives a shit when you're there on your deathbed? It's all insignificant, isn't it? All insignificant. So go and do the things that you fear. Go try it. Go plan to do something amazing. Think outside the box. Don't follow what everyone else does. Feel your grief and then think, you know what? When I've got to a better stage, which I can't really see right now, I'm going to do something. So at my funeral, you know, say she didn't just settle, she went for it. She helped. She had good things to share. She helped people through. I don't know, whatever your thing is. Maybe you're thinking, what you're babbling on about, and maybe some of you are thinking, oh, maybe that was the sign I needed. I don't know. I don't know what stage you are. You might be listening to this, and it's been a while, like me, since grief, and it's still all a process, isn't it? Yeah. So whatever the rest of your day looks like, I just want you to know that I appreciate you being here. I appreciate you tuning in. And if you think this is any use or any help, or you took anything from it, share it, comment, you know, do me a good turn, you know, this might help somebody else. And yeah, like I said, there was no point today, it's just a chat. It's my experience, and I'm sure I've got loads to say. Maybe there'll be a part 2. But yeah, that's all I'm here for today. And thank you so much again for being in my world, sharing it, and just being here. So much love. Come and pop me a follow if you're not already at Mary Ellen T22. That's Instagram, or on Mary Ellen on Facebook. You take care, and thanks again. Bye.